Can I be honest with you for a moment? Have you ever been excited about someone, felt that spark, only to suddenly find yourself waiting and waiting for a text that never comes? Maybe you catch yourself overthinking every little thing they say or don't say, wondering if you did something wrong or if they're just not that into you. I once coached a woman who told me something that hit me hard like a punch in the gut. She said, "Matt, I feel like a bonus in his life, not a part of it." She wasn't upset. She wasn't angry. She was just tired, emotionally drained from showing up again and again for someone who barely showed up for her. And here's the kicker. The guy wasn't mean or cruel. He was just nice, texted sometimes, made plans eventually, just enough to keep her hoping, but never enough to make her feel truly secure. So I asked her a simple question: is this connection really bringing you peace? Or is it just dragging out your confusion? Because there's a huge difference between being wanted and being prioritized. And today, I'm going to help you see exactly how to tell the difference before you waste any more time convincing someone to choose you when you should be choosing yourself. You know, when we first meet someone, it's easy to get swept away by chemistry, the sparks, the excitement, the way they make you laugh or feel alive in that moment. I've seen it so many times, both in my own life and in the stories of people I've worked with. That initial rush can be intoxicating, and it's natural to want to believe that it's a sign of something real, something deep. But here's the truth. Chemistry alone doesn't build a lasting connection. It's consistency that reveals the real story. Think about it like this. Anyone can light a fire that burns bright for a moment. It's easy to be charming, attentive, and passionate when things are fresh and new, when the stakes feel low and the excitement is high. I've been there myself, caught up in that initial magic, thinking that was the whole package. But chemistry fades. What stays, what truly matters, is whether someone shows up for you day after day, even when life gets messy. I remember coaching a woman who was dazzled by a guy's charm in the beginning. He was sweet, attentive, always texting, always making plans. But after a few weeks, the texts slowed, plans became vague, and the attention was inconsistent. She held on to those first moments, the spark, hoping he'd come back, but the inconsistency told her something important. It revealed his real level of investment. When someone is serious about you, they don't just show up when it's easy or convenient. They make the effort when they're tired, stressed, or busy because they've decided you're worth that effort. Consistency isn't about grand gestures. It's about small, steady actions that build trust over time. That's when you know the connection is real. So remember, chemistry can excite you, but it's consistency that tells you the truth. You know, one of the hardest things to deal with when you like someone is the mixed signals, the confusing messages that keep you guessing. Maybe he's texting you one moment, then ghosting you the next. Maybe he makes plans, then cancels last minute. It's like he's saying one thing with his words and another with his actions. I've seen this over and over, both in my own experiences and in the people I've helped. And here's the brutal truth. Mixed signals aren't just confusing, they're an answer in themselves. Let me tell you why. When someone is truly invested, they won't leave you hanging, unsure where you stand. They won't play games with your emotions because they understand that clarity is a form of respect. I remember a client who was caught in this exact pattern. She was exhausted, constantly reading between the lines, trying to decode what his silence meant or if his warm moments were real. But the silence, the inconsistency that was the real message. He wasn't ready to show up, and he wasn't prioritizing her. I've learned from my own life that the people worth your time make things clear, even if the truth is difficult. They don't leave space for doubt or second guessing because they want you to feel safe, not anxious. So when you're caught in that back and forth, trying to interpret every word and every pause, remind yourself, mixed signals aren't a mystery. They're the answer you need. They're telling you who they really are and how much space you hold in their life. The real question isn't what these signals mean, it's what you're willing to accept. And if you're constantly uncertain, maybe it's time to accept the answer that's already been given. We all know life gets busy. Work piles up, family demands attention, and sometimes it feels like there aren't enough hours in the day. But here's what I want you to understand. Real interest doesn't vanish when life gets hectic. It doesn't disappear because someone's schedule is full or because they're stressed out. It was about the fact that they weren't the right person to give me what I deserved. Think about it like this. If someone truly values you, they won't make your needs feel like burdens. They won't force you to shrink or settle. I once worked with a woman who was always apologizing for wanting her partner to prioritize her. She felt selfish for asking for more. But when she finally understood that she wasn't asking for too much, she was just with someone who couldn't give it, everything changed. She found the courage to walk away and make space for someone who could. So if you're feeling like your needs are too much, stop blaming yourself. The real question is whether you're with the right person who sees your value and is willing to match your effort. One of the biggest misconceptions I see is people mistaking access for commitment. Just because someone is around, just because they answer your calls or say yes when you suggest plans, doesn't mean they're truly committed to you. Access is easy, it's convenient. Commitment is something deeper, something that requires intention and investment. I've had conversations with people who felt secure simply because someone was there, but their presence was more like a revolving door than a foundation. They could come and go as they pleased, show up when it suited them, but disappear when things got complicated. That's access. It feels good in the moment, but it doesn't build anything lasting. In my own experience, I remember times when I thought having someone's time was enough. Maybe they'd text late at night or pop in for a date here and there. But I learned that commitment means more than just showing up. It means prioritizing you even when it's hard, choosing you when there are easier options, and being consistent in both words and actions. There's a huge difference between someone who sees you as a convenient option and someone who has made the decision to build a future with you. The former might enjoy your company casually. The latter sees you as essential to their life. When you confuse access for commitment, you're settling for less than you deserve. Remember, access without commitment is just passing time. It's not a partnership. Your time is one of the most valuable things you have. It's finite, precious, and once it's gone, you can never get it back. Yet, so often, people don't realize how much their time says about their worth in someone's life. How someone treats your time reveals exactly how much they value you, not just in words, but in action. I've seen this play out countless times, both in the people I've worked with and in my own relationships. There was a time when I didn't fully appreciate this. I would rearrange my schedule, drop everything, and wait around for someone who made me feel like an afterthought. The truth hit me when I realized that if someone truly values you, they won't make you wait. They won't cancel plans last minute or show up late repeatedly. They'll respect your time because they respect you. One woman I coached was exhausted from always being the one who made time, shifted plans, and adapted her life to fit someone else's convenience. She felt guilty for wanting to be a priority, but she wasn't asking for the moon just respect for her time. When she started holding her boundaries, the dynamic changed. People either stepped up or stepped out. Your time is a non-negotiable. It's the currency of your life. So pay close attention to how people treat it because their behavior will tell you everything you need to know about where you truly stand. One of the most damaging things we do when we care about someone is to rationalize their emotional inconsistency. We tell ourselves, maybe they're just stressed, or they don't mean to be distant, they're just busy, or it's not them, it's me. I've heard this story countless times from clients and friends, and I've wrestled with it myself. But here's the reality. Emotional inconsistency is not a quirk to overlook, it's a message. And when you keep making excuses for it, you're ignoring what your gut already knows. In my own experience, early relationships taught me this the hard way. I remember trying to explain away disappearing texts, late replies, or cold moments because I wanted to believe the best version of someone rather than the truth. But that inconsistency was not the exception, it was the pattern. The person wasn't ready to show up fully, they weren't invested enough to give you steady attention, and that's okay. But pretending otherwise only keeps you stuck. When someone truly cares, they don't leave you guessing. They don't make their affection conditional or unpredictable. Instead, they make the effort to show up not just when it's easy or convenient, but especially when life gets complicated. They don't disappear emotionally, then pop back as if nothing happened. They don't force you to chase them or read into mixed signals hoping for clarity. Real interest is different. It's about making you a priority, even when it's not easy. I've seen this firsthand with people I've worked with and in my own life. When I'm genuinely invested in someone, no matter how crazy things get, I find ways to stay connected. It's not about perfect communication or grand romantic gestures every day. It's about small, consistent moments of care. Quick text to check in, a call when things calm down, making plans that actually happen. When someone truly values you, they don't just say it, they show it, even in the busiest seasons. I remember a close friend juggling a demanding job and a new relationship. She wasn't always able to respond immediately or spend hours on the phone, but her partner never made her feel guilty or unimportant. He understood that showing up during chaos meant sending that thinking of you message or locking in a date weeks in advance. That's what real interest looks like, presence, even when life is complicated. So if you find yourself wondering whether someone really cares when they're busy, pay attention to the effort they make, not the excuses they give. Because when someone's heart is in it, they'll find a way. Let's be clear about something. Emotional safety isn't a luxury. It's not something you should have to negotiate or question in a relationship. It's a basic need. When you're with someone who truly values you, you don't walk on eggshells. You don't hesitate to be yourself or hold back your feelings because you fear judgment or rejection. I've seen so many people settle for less than this, convincing themselves that uncertainty or discomfort is just part of love. But that's not love. That's emotional risk without a safety net. In my own life, I've learned the hard way that emotional safety is what allows connection to deepen. Early on, I was in situations where I felt like I had to hide parts of myself to keep the peace. That kind of tension drains you, and it kills intimacy. Real connection thrives in an environment where you can express your thoughts and feelings honestly, knowing you won't be met with criticism or silence. I remember coaching a woman who was constantly afraid to share her worries with her partner because every time she did, she'd get dismissed or made to feel too much. Over time, that fear built walls between them. It wasn't until she found someone who encouraged her vulnerability that she felt truly loved and understood. Emotional safety gave her the freedom to be herself, and that changed everything. So if you find yourself shrinking, second-guessing, or walking on eggshells, understand this: you deserve better. Emotional safety isn't too much to ask. It's the foundation of any meaningful relationship. One thing I've noticed in relationships and in life is that when you're the only one reaching out, initiating conversations, making plans, it's a sign. Not just about the other person, but about the balance of energy between you. You see, genuine connection is a two-way street. It's not your job alone to keep the relationship alive or to constantly be the one who calls or texts first. I've coached many women who told me they're exhausted from doing all the emotional labor, always the first to reach out, always waiting for a response that might never come. It's draining. And here's the hard truth. If someone cared enough, they would make the effort without being prompted. When you matter to someone, they want to hear your voice, see your face, and be present. It's not a burden, it's a desire. In my own life, I've been in friendships and partnerships where the energy wasn't balanced. I realized that when I was the only one initiating, it was a sign that maybe I was holding on to something that wasn't reciprocal. The moment I stopped chasing, the moment I gave space for the other person to show upe that they did, or the truth became clear. You deserve to be with someone who meets you halfway, someone who's just as eager to reach out and invest time and effort into you. Because connection should feel like a shared rhythm, not a one-person performance. When you're always the only one reaching out, it's time to ask yourself, are you really a priority or just an option? One of the most important things to realize is that when you feel like you're asking too much in a relationship, the problem isn't you, it's the person you're asking. So many people convince themselves that their needs are unreasonable, that wanting respect, consistency, or clarity is somehow too much. But here's the truth. You're not asking for too much. You're simply asking the wrong person. I've seen this time and again, people staying stuck, apologizing for wanting basic things like time, honesty, or emotional safety. In my own life, I've had moments where I thought I was asking for too much because the other person couldn't meet me there. But what I realized was that it wasn't about me or my expectations. So stop rationalizing emotional inconsistency. It's not a sign of love, but a sign of where someone's heart really is. And your peace of mind depends on recognizing that truth. One of the toughest lessons to learn is this. If you stop reaching out and the connection fades away, that connection was never truly yours to begin with. It's hard to admit, especially when you've invested time, emotion, and hope into someone. But the truth is, relationships are a two-way street. When you find yourself constantly initiating, sending texts, making plans, checking in, and the other person only responds when it suits them, it's a sign they're not fully invested. I've seen this countless times, both in the people I've worked with and in my own life. I remember a period where I was holding on to a friendship that felt one-sided. I was always the one calling, always the one showing up. One day, I decided to step back and see if they would make the effort. They didn't. That silence wasn't just a gap, it was a message. It told me how much space I really held in their life. It's painful to realize that the emotional energy you gave wasn't matched, but it's also freeing. It means you're no longer carrying the weight of keeping something alive that doesn't want to be. When you stop reaching out, you clear space for something real, something mutual and genuine. Remember, someone who truly values you won't let the connection disappear just because you pause. They'll step up, show up, and make sure you feel seen and wanted. If they don't, it's time to let go. Not with bitterness, but with clarity. In the end, knowing whether you're a priority or just an option isn't about overanalyzing every text or moment. It's about recognizing the patterns of respect, effort, and consistency. You deserve someone who shows up for you, values your time, and makes you feel emotionally safe. Don't settle for confusion or inconsistency disguised as love. Hold yourself to the standard of clarity, mutual care, and genuine commitment. Remember, your worth isn't defined by how much someone chases you. It's reflected in who chooses you freely and consistently. Choose yourself first, and everything else will follow.